Superman issue 29, Philip K. Johnson and Phil Hester. And the main story, as a standard practice now going forward, I am not going to bother listing the backup creative team. I'll mention them when we get there, but for the sake of the list of contents on the timestamps not being super long, I'm not going to write multiple writers and artists for everyone. But anyway.
Fair enough.
So this is the start of the run proper. Obviously, we got a hell of a preview out of the Future State issues. But this is the first issue in the real run going forward. So we're starting with a story called The Golden Age, which heavily features John.
Yes, which isn't when I think Golden Age isn't what it ended up being, which is always fun when something like that happens, right?
Yeah, I think because John was not focused on in those Future State issues, I don't know if we expected there to be much John focus from Johnson, but the fact that this first issue is like no, everything's from his perspective. This entire first issue is John's view of his father. This is what it's all about. It's all about, the story here is about a child for the first time seeing their parent be basically less than Superman. You know, the idea that when you're a little kid, you look up to your parents, you think they're invulnerable, you think they can't do anything wrong, you think they're perfect, they'll always be able to save you, there's never going to be a danger with them. But then eventually you realize they're human beings and they can make mistakes and they can get hurt, and so you scale that up to Superman here, where John sees Clark get hurt, and it's kind of the innocent here for this fighting some interdimensional thing, and him and John are going up to do try to take care of it in the way that they do as supers. But there was one thing that really stuck out to me, is that John being so worried about him, because not just because of the future, but because of that stuff where he realizes his dad is still his dad on a human level, and that it finally dawned on him that his dad might not be around forever, and that he can't be Superman because Clark is Superman. He's like, yeah, it can be a title, but at the end of the day, he is Superman. It's not just a role that's to be filled. He is Superman. Yeah. And I really like that sentiment, because that's when you think about parents and whatnot. If I can make a minor critique that I don't think would be a critique separated, like if this story just came out and it was just this, I wouldn't have this critique. And I realize that Future State were all possible futures, but it is a little bit weird to read just after Future State ends, where we see Superman exist to this old man who's there eons in the future when there's descendants of Kents. The idea that John is worried in the first issue of the Superman run that his dad's going to die soon because he knows from the future that his time's almost up is a bit weird. Like, I get that it doesn't matter what happened in Future State, that we are doing new things now, but it is a bit just jarring as a reader, because we just did that.
Right, so let me spin it this way, and this might just be spin, but he's talking about the Legion, and he's talking about how what's going on in their present is the past where John just came back from. So he knows things that he's not supposed to. However, we've seen that, like, because timey-wimey, right, it could be wrong. John knowing this might completely subvert the future in there, right, that they're talking about. Or, the Legion was just wrong. Whatever they thought happened to Superman didn't necessarily go down that way. But to John, it doesn't make it any less real, because to him, this might be the last time he sees his dad. So I get it. He wants to take care of him.
I get it, and it's not a huge critique, but there was a moment when he started talking about, like, knowing his dad's time was almost up, that I just kind of went, I don't really believe you. I mean, I wouldn't believe him anyway because it's comics and the Superman, but it's just a thing, because we just went through all those stories in Future State of seeing Superman do the beard and be at the end of the universe with Wonder Woman and doing all that stuff. And I get that that's all possible futures, but there was just something that when he started talking about it, it rang a little bit like, I have no reason to, I don't know, accept this right now. I can't roll with that.
I took it as John's like misplaced care. You know what I mean? Like, because he's young and he's going to worry about it. And to Clark, it might not be anything. Where he's just like, yeah, man, Doomsday killed me. Yeah, here I am. Like I just feel like it's John having to learn that he can't worry about that type of stuff. And as someone that goes through bouts of anxiety, that's something that I've had to work on. So to see it coming through from this character, it rang true for me. So
yeah, no, I mean, it was just a thing when as soon as he started talking about it, the part of me just kind of checked out a little bit, because I'm like, I don't know, I'm not like, I'm not in the headspace to be talking about this potential. It's not to say that anything in it is poorly written, because it's not. It's a really well told issue. The majority of the book doesn't even have dialogue. It's just the narration. Who I don't believe we ever find out who's talking, do we? Like we don't know who's narrating yet.
I don't think so. I think we'll find out in the next in action.
There is a green green background to the box, which maybe we could speculate based on that. But ultimately, most of the issue is this narration talking about how John looks up to his father, about learning that he maybe can be defeated. We do see Amanda Waller, who's not behind the breach in space that's letting these beings into our universe, but when she learns that something from it does hurt Superman, although notably not John, just Superman. She tells the Star Labs satellite to not close it yet, because it bears further investigation. She eventually agrees to close it once too many monsters start coming out. That it's like, okay, we've done as much research as we can now. Close it. We've learned stuff. We've accomplished something. And that's it's during this whole kerfuffle where Superman does get hurt. Not seriously, but he does get cut, which is still pretty notable for Superman. So.
I'm also wondering if this is a little bit of foreshadowing to what leads to Warworld with Superman in those Worlds at War issues. If that's where he goes that John's worried about. But there's also the scene that pops out, and I don't have my handy dandy translator for Kryptonian, but there's text boxes with Kryptonian, and seeming that Helix seems to be worried about something. So I wonder what's going on with that. If that plays into what's going on with the Rift and whatnot too. But yeah, because it says results confirmed. They're down at the bottom. So I think that's all interesting. But no, I really like all of that stuff there. With John and Superman, and talking about like when he was a kid. And just, the game with the pine cone, it's called Coney Ball, which just, made me remember the stuff that I really loved at the beginning of Rebirth. Them living out in Hamilton County. So that's all. Johnson coming in and being like, yeah, look, we're not exactly starting over, playing within the bounds, which I always appreciate as a longtime comic reader.
Oh, no, I definitely appreciate that we're talking about John being aged up, that we're still dealing with that, because that's not something that Lois and Superman should just get over. Like, they lost like the majority of his childhood. Like, he jumped from being 10 to being, what, 16, 17, 18, yeah, something like that. So Clark trying to bond over this old game, and the irony here being that usually it's the parent who gets old and forgets something, but it's actually John who's like, no, this was a long time ago, I don't remember how to play this game. And Clark's like, well,
well, it wasn't that long ago to me. But that's also like a parent going with like, kids don't understand time that way, but to the parent it was like, oh no, it wasn't that long ago.
But really. Of course here it's literal. There was actually a time difference for them.
And so I do like all that, and it's just, again, Johnson just gets Superman, which makes me happy, because there was a time where I would always worry who was taking over Superman. And like hearing Bendis was doing it, you feel a little bit more at ease, but you're still kind of unsure. But within this is his 4th issue now writing the character, I feel like it's in very safe hands going forward. And yeah, it feels nice not to have to worry for once.
Yeah. Obviously, the issue's big cliffhanger is that just as they're having this bonding, Kal-X is trying to talk to Superman, and the rift that was there was not actually the first rift, it was just the biggest one. There was lots of little minor ones, and the big rift is opening. So the issue ends with a big rift opening, and a giant version of whatever these interdimensional beings are is coming out. That's your big full page spread to wrap things up on. So there's a glorious page before that, though, of Superman and John both flying towards the rift, but it's kind of broken up into these horizontal panels in the middle. So the second last page is very nicely split up with it's almost like a full page spread, but then there's these panels like laid over the top of it, and it just gives it this kind of sequential feeling to it. It's a good first issue. I mean, I don't want my critique of part of the plot kind of feeling kind of weird after Future State to get in the way of it too much, because ultimately it's not a big deal. And shouldn't in the long run. I think the way John thinks of his father is very sort of in tune for Superman, and not quite as strong, but definitely I can tell comes from the same mind that brought us that first Future State issue, which was all about the aura of Superman and what people see in him and how they look up to him. And we're kind of getting that from John's perspective here, which I think is really neat. I know Connor was expecting me to be lukewarm on the art. I don't remember what Phil Hester issue we did before that I was mean to. I don't recall.
I think that the thick blocky lines where it feels like almost like the Batman and Superman animated series, right? It fits really well. And Hester's sense of action in through these, like sure, I say blocky, but there's still a fluidity to all of it. Like when there's a lot of them floating, right? Because they both can fly, and there's like almost a bounce to the art that I really like. But yeah, so what?
Yeah,
I don't ever remember this you being negative on Hester. So...
Maybe it was previously. Maybe they're like an old issue or something that we talked about. I don't think the art is bad by any means. I'd say it's maybe not perfect to my taste. It's kind of like it almost feels like it's going for kind of the McGuinness, kind of the early Loeb stuff. I'm kind of getting some of that vibes from it. It's maybe not exactly what I was expecting from this run based on those two Yannon issues from Future State, which were obviously very different. But yeah, I don't know, like, because I saw that tweet from Connor before I read it, and I was kind of coming in thinking I was going to dislike the art, and I kind of came in and went, oh, this is fine. Admittedly, I'm not over the moon about it. I mean, Connor was praising it to the high heavens like it was the second coming. I think it's solid art, but I'm not in love with it.
Looking up on what he's worked on, there's Wonder Woman 605 to 614. So maybe, did you guys cover that in previously?
Nope.
No? There's Nightwing, there's Green Arrow. He's on Godzilla, Kingdom of the Monsters. So, any of these ring a bell?
No.
Maybe a Swamp Thing, but I don't know how long ago that goes back.
So, I don't know. I'm sure if he was here, he would moan and tell me why he expected me to hate this.
Yeah.
I think like the bar was set so high by those first two Future State issues, which for me are like, I gave those like 9.5s and 10s, and I think this is a really solid first issue. I like the overall tone that it's got. I love the pacing. I think it flows really well. Whoever this voice is feels very enigmatic. And it's kind of the sort of feeling that I love in a comic book. I think the issue overall, for getting to the ratings here, this is a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah.
I'm gonna take it a little bit higher. For sure. 8.5. I really like the art, and I think Johnson just understands Superman at a level that I don't think I haven't felt this way for a Superman writer in quite a long time. So it just, it feels nice and comforted, so that's worth the extra half point.
Yeah, I'm excited for the run. I guess the only thing I would say about the art is that the style is a bit more kind of cartoony than perhaps the tone of the story makes me think fits it. If that makes sense. I feel like the tone of the story feels like it maybe would belong to maybe a more shaded artist rather than the flatter cartoony style of this one. But I mean, it's not really that big of a critique, to be honest.
I don't know.
But yeah, so a giant alien or interdimensional being coming through the portal at the end in space.
Yeah.
Which is what John and I just want to briefly mention as well. There was a scene with Lois where they're just sort of sitting watching TV as the narration is playing out, which I thought was a nice little scene. The idea that John falls asleep watching TV,
like a kid sitting in front of the parents.
Yeah.
Like a little kid. You know,
it's because it's as the narration's talking about the golden age is a wonderful thing, this golden age of childhood, but it doesn't last forever. I do kind of like that. This is like just a snapshot in that golden age of like the parents, you know, just enjoying spending time as their kid falls asleep in front of the TV. I don't know. I like the because so much of the issue is these big fights in space and all these big things going on. I kind of like that. You have this quiet moment,
small quieter moment.
So there you go. That's Superman 29. Wonder Woman's. Oh wait, no, hold on. There's I'm forgetting those backups and all of the books there. You're right. Hold on. So there's a. I was going to say a Jimmy story, but it's actually not. I thought it was a Jimmy story based on the first couple panels, but it's actually a Bibbo story.
Do you wanna guess how excited I was when I turned it and it wasn't just Jimmy and it was Bibbo? I
can imagine.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing that would have made this more exciting for you is if instead of the blonde, it was Bibbo and like Guy Gardner get out of a limo to go do stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
So
I love Bibbo.
This is Sean Lewis writing with Sam Basri on the art for this backup. And Jimmy's around. Jimmy kind of introduces the story, but it's a Bibbo story where somehow he's got this, this very attractive woman going to a movie with him. It's a movie premiere as well, I think, because it's like a red carpet.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. At first I'm just like, what is Bibbo doing? Like, this is not the bar that he frequents down on the docks, or that he works at.
Apparently, Jimmy's got him into writing so that he can tell the story of the common man in Metropolis. Which
I do love, considering that these are two of Superman's best pals, right? Like, Bibbo worships the idea of Superman and what he means to Metropolis, and then Jimmy's his actual best friend. So the fact like they're trying to give the other perspective of Metropolis is something that's a great idea from Jimmy. Like, he doesn't get those too many.
Yeah, because the idea being this is maybe jumping to the end when he's closing narration, but the idea from Bibbo is that we can't rely on Superman to solve all the small problems. We actually have to stand up. We have to take the inspiration of Superman and actually tackle a lot of things ourselves. Admittedly, maybe this story goes a little too far in the sense that Bibbo takes on an alien being on his own with a simple punch, but that's fine. So basically, the blonde woman, the attractive woman, is actually just a projection from an alien. I mean, I don't know if her name's actually Projectress or if that's just what the other guy calls her.
That they calls them, but I'm gonna call her that.
Projectress.
And
then he what Deadstream, I think is said his name was.
Yeah.
It sounds like a rejected Transformer, if I'm honest. If I'm rating that name.
A little bit.
But he sort of comes in and disguises a charming, handsome man and starts to basically get Bibbo to get into a fight by hitting on her. And he eventually gets mad when he says something in the theater and throws him into a fountain. But then he reveals himself for what he is. Deadstream is actually, he could turn into a big water monster using the water from the fountain.
Yeah.
And Bibbo takes him on, although he turns it off the water first, which is kind of what a lot of his power's coming from.
Smart.
But then the blonde woman disappears, and it's like, hey, you were targeted, and Jimmy's like, hey, I think you were a victim of some monstrous beings. Then so it ends with Bibbo with his typewriter, and he's writing about how we have to do stuff as well. We can't just leave it to Superman, with a minor cliffhanger of these two beings of Deadstream and Projectress watching through the window from a distance. So this story's not done. They're targeting Bibbo for something, but yes, we're getting a Bibbo backup story.
I like that their plan comes from to get to Superman and Metropolis. You can't just go they said, if you're going to destroy a house, you start with the foundation. And so the fact that Bibbo is the foundation of Metropolis for Superman, because if you break Bibbo, right, that's kind of the common belief of people believing in Superman, but Bibbo's not that difficult to break, right? And he comes up with that realization of, Superman's there, but if we rely on him too much, then we get too weak, and that we have to take care of each other as much as he takes care of Metropolis. And it's just a really nice, you don't get thoughtful Bibbo that much, right? He's always just kind of that aw shucks guy. Yet here, I thought I liked this a whole lot. I was surprised.
Yeah, it was a very interesting not a counterpoint, but just a different story to the main story to kind of wrap up with. A couple of details I like in the last page is that he's got a hole in his sock, his toes sticking out, and they are. He's also got a photo of him and Superman on the wall right behind him.
Yep.
Probably his most prized possession. And a book leveling out his little table with his TV on it. Still, I would almost argue maybe it's just easier to draw an old CRT TV, but I do think it's an intentional choice for Bibbo to still have a crappy old chunky TV.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, your mic's gone.
Yeah.
There you go. So, as far as, we're kind of judging these backups for the first time this month. It's kind of the first month of having all these backups as a regular feature in the books. I'd say this one's a fairly positive one.
Yes.
What would you like to rate this?
I'm gonna give this one a 7.5. It's good, but it's not amazing, but it did surprise me. So, and I do like the art. Although on the last page, I'm gonna pull a Connor here. The Dreadwave guy, his eyes are very, very far apart. It looks a little bit weird in that final panel.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he's not human though, so he kind of look, he's made a little kind of alien and monstrous. So
it is a little bit goofy though. It's weird.
I tell you what else is far apart. Her boobs.
Yeah, well, she's projecting, so clearly that's what.
Clear.
Oh no, that's her.
Yeah, so
that's her, whatever she is. But yeah. For a second when it first started, I thought it was Cat Grant, just because of the blonde.
You thought Bibbo and Cat Grant were going out for a movie date?
I thought whatever's going on, with Cat, we haven't seen her in a while, so. But yeah. Pretty good.
Okay. I mean, do we rate these as a whole? I suppose we probably should. What are you giving the whole book?
Let's see. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll split the difference between the stories and go 7.5. It's funny. It's not necessarily the knock out the park that I was hoping for the first issue of this run, but it's also nothing dissuasive either. It's like, no, it's a solid start, and I'm excited to see where Johnson builds up to from here.